Mchunu is back in the hot seat before Parliament's ad hoc committee today. Now, the committee is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system made by the KwaZulu Natal Provincial Police Commissioner, General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Amongst others, Mkhwanazi alleges that the top police officers and Mchunu are involved in criminal syndicates. Well, to discuss this further, we're now joined by political analyst Professor Sipho Sieba. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Always good to talk to you. Welcome.
No, thank you for the invitation.
It's been quite a defensive show by Minister Mchunu so far in the hot seat. What do you make of what you've seen in terms of maybe even body language, but rhetoric that he's presented in defending his position?
Well, one must accept that he came across as comfortable, and his earlier posture was almost like he was there to educate members of parliament. But I think as soon as the whole process started, he realized that he's in the lion's den. But he has been very consistent in saying or refusing to accept that the disestablishment of the political killings task team was more an attempt to protect certain individuals who have been implicated in criminal activity. And what he wanted to do was to deal with that. And one must remember that one of the things that Mkhwanazi did indicate was the letter that he wrote had the makings of that letter being written by some people outside or being influenced by other people. And the minister stood his ground to say, I wrote that letter. And he sought to give a number of reasons. But those reasons themselves were somehow questionable in a sense that once you have too many reasons to explain your action, people begin to wonder which reason really is the one that ultimately drove you to making that decision. And among other reasons that he gave was first that the political killings task team, like all other task teams, was not meant to be never ending, that they are all time bound. And also that this task team was not within the political structure. So that was the first argument that he sought to advance. Then the second argument that he sought to advance was around the optimal use of the resources, that it made sense to him that the political killings were not the only killings. It would make sense for him to come up with a structure or a unit that look at all forms of killings, including the taxi violence or killings that relate to taxi violence, traditional killings, and all that. But that didn't seem to convince MPs, because one of the things that they raised around that argument is that why did he choose this particular task team? What about other task teams that exist? So they did not find comfortable with these answers around that reason. The third reason that they also raised a concern is the timing of the establishment or disbanding of this task team, because for them it seemed to coincide with the imminent arrest of certain people who have been implicated in criminal activity. So in a sense, they saw this as almost giving credence that this establishment was more about protecting the crime syndicate or the drug cartels. And so that became a concern for them, especially when this establishment or disbanding did not, it was not followed or did not follow what you may call a consultation with people who were engaged on the operations of this task team. They expected him to have at least have briefed the national commissioner, to have briefed the Lieutenant General Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi, but that did not occur. And if you are a minister You want to make sure that there's a cooperation between you and the chiefs within the police force. And the fact that he did it without that consultation also left much to be desired in with regard to the MPs. So he advanced quite a number of reasons, but each reason that he advances also raises a number of questions.
At the heart of this, my understanding, is authority to act. I've always thought that ministers' jobs are to frame policy, not to run these institutions. And no matter which way you shake it, whether it's a task team or a unit, whether it's in an organogram or not, these are men in uniform. He's a civil servant. And I wonder if he has any authority at all to do operational things such as starting or disbanding a task, a unit such as this.
Well, I mean, clearly, there are very few people who are convinced with that by the argument that he advances. All the generals, at least those who are on the other side of this thinking, are very clear about that the minister has interfered, that he had no business in directing what police should do. And they are not saying this because they want to undermine the minister. They are saying this that your responsibility ends with setting a policy. But when it comes to operational matters, it is our space. And also what you are also dealing with here is people who have been in the police force for donkey's years. So they understand how far they can go. And they are not even arguing about encroaching into ministerial spaces. But they do think that what we have here is not only encroaching, but also can board us around defeating the ends of justice. And we've also seen where another previous minister was also heard to be calling, or was seen to have been calling somebody who was implicated before the person was arrested. So it may be that we have gotten to a stage where ministers had acted and had almost intervened within the operational space. So Mkhunu may not be alone in that. But that matter is a matter that the MPs were very clear that here it is interference. Yes, we accept, and hence the continuous reference to what the Constitution provides. And you are quite correct that the ministers should not be engaged in operational space.
And perhaps finally, I am curious. You've previously warned about turf wars within the South African police. And we heard in the inquiry or the committee questioning how the police went to Minister Mchunu's house, apparently to search, and the police that were there prevented the police that arrived from entering. That does tell us a lot, doesn't it?
Well, it tells you a lot. First, that the police should be working together. I mean, there is a very clear line that comes from the Constitution that theirs is to prevent and combat and investigate crime. So the other police have no business in stopping that process unless if the warrant of search was not obtained properly. So, but the notion of war is quite very clear. And this is also what Mkhwanazi wants, is that we're now getting to a stage where it was going to be possible or almost feasible, or not even feasible, that it was almost about to happen where the police will be turning on each other and in terms of shooting. And that would have been very problematic. And hence his justification on why he called that press conference on the 6th of July to say this was actually a cry for help, to say within the system is so corrupt that we're not able to deal with it. And therefore, if you undermine the entire criminal justice system, then South Africans will have no faith and confidence in the police, whether they arrest, whether they search. So I do think that these investigations, the commission, both and the other committee are doing a great job.
Professor Siepe, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much indeed for your time and your insights.
You're welcome.